going to be different. I think this is a good pivot point though, like where we can kind of talk about maybe just kind of some general ideas heading into FPL this season. What are your thoughts about where you think a majority of, say, your 100 million, where do you think the majority of the money should be spent? Should it be like a forward line, midfield, defense? Do you think it should be more spread out? What's your thought process there?
As of now, I kind of find myself fluctuating between a lot of different thoughts currently because at this point, I think we need to just evaluate as many options as we can. And then by having an idea of how the different team setups we can have look, then we can best decide what we want to do from there. So as of now, it's hard for me to say which way I'm leaning. If I had to pick right now, gun to my head before it's game week 1 starts tomorrow, I think I would go a pretty I would divest from my defensive line because I think, like I talked about, there's really good value there in defenders at, around the 4.5 to 5 price, and then kind of load up in the midfield with hopefully 3 premium midfielders, or 2 to 3 premium midfielders, and then make sure I'm investing a lot in my strikers as well, because there's some really great striker opportunities this season. So I would probably still invest heavier in my midfielders and then my forwards, but that's because I think there's still really good value from defenders around the 4.5 to 5 price range. And just some of those to really quickly shout out: Pascal Stroik, someone to think about. I'm just saying, he was on pins for Leeds last year. Not very many people have noticed that. So
Is he going to play those? The question.
to be confirmed. So someone to keep an eye on, I think. But like other players, Van de Ven at 4.5, along with Udogi, I think those are really good value. Gahey is someone who would have led FPL for defensive contributions last year at his price point. I think that other 4.5, I like Juan Bissaka is a really good option at 4.5. Um, Brighton De Kuiper, I believe that's how you pronounce it. He is thought to be a Stupiñán's replacement, a left back for Brighton. He's at 4.5 as well. Really kind of gaining popularity within the community, but there's lots of really good options out there. So investing in those 6 million attackers, Rene Nori, Herkes, Frimpong, no, sorry, for those defenders at 6 million, that is something that could be a bit tricky. I think if you're going to go that high, you want to do something that you can, that is going to start. We are not sure about those at this point.
Yeah. My only thing too that I agree with going 6.0s like all the way across the back. I mean, we'll have to see how the bonus point system with the changes and everything, how that plays out and how it kind of really impacts scores throughout the season. But I'm kind of the same mindset that, I mean, I think especially the midfield, and I'm not gonna lie, I think Holland's gonna have a huge year this season, and he basically eats up all your forward budget. So I mean, if you want Holland in your team, which he most likely will be in mine, not to spoil anything, but he eats up a lot of money. So those drafts with Holland and Salah are crazy to me because you'll see, like, if you add in a 6.0 midfielder into that, I mean, that's what, like 36 million right there, right? Like, I mean, and that's, I mean, that's more than a third of your whole budget. So you really have to be frugal after that. So it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of give and take right now between some of the teams I'm making, between what other forwards I have besides Holland. But I mean, we can dive into them here in a second. But um, I agree with you, Luke. It's the midfielders are really hard because there's so many options. I mean, I honestly, one of the things that I'm probably, I really like all the changes. I like everything they've done so far at FPL. I just don't understand why Jared Bowen's a forward. Like, that makes me so mad. He's one of my favorite FPL assets, and for him to be a forward, like, I get that maybe he played like 25% or 30% of the positions as a forward last season. Who cares? I want him as a midfielder. Like, those returns just don't mean as much for a forward. So I'm obviously still coping with that, but yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know. I do think probably like midfielder to forward. That's probably where a majority of my money is going to end up, distributed between those two, just depending on where I think the value should be. But from here, Luke, I mean, go ahead. Yeah.
Something that I think you mentioned Jared Bowen, so this is what made me think about it. But yesterday with Bruno Fernandes scoring 2 goals and Jared Bowen's goal, I feel like there was a moment where I could just see teams changing. There was an earthquake thing kinda shifted, and you could feel a lot of drafts changing very quickly. I think Bruno Fernandes is someone who his ownership is gonna skyrocket between now and the start of the season, and I do think he's gonna be a lot better value than he has been in the past. So, I really think Bruno's a good option. Do you think you would go there with Bruno, Paul? Someone to think about. He's at 9,000,000 in a new look United. See someone you think about?
Well, it's really hard to stomach having Bruno Fernandes in my FPL team because just not the biggest fan, honestly. But to me, it's going to be difficult. I mean, obviously, he scored 2 goals this already in their preseason in one match. The goals from United are, we'll have to see how it plays out when Mbomo and Cunha are both playing as well. Because, I mean, Bruno could be off pins. I mean, he took a pin yesterday. But, I mean, with Mbomo on the pitch as well, like, who knows? I mean, they have 3 really good pin takers. Could be a system where it rotates. We don't really know. I mean, we had the situation last year where me and Luke were both heavily invested in Crystal Palace early in the season. Had Eze. I think we both had Eze on our teams for the same match week, and then Mateta steps up. Yeah,
I had a triple up of Crystal Palace of Mateta, Eze, and Munoz, and horrible, but eventually got better. So timing's so important with FPL too. You just gotta get that.
yeah. Let me tell you about how demoralizing it is whenever you see one of the players on your teams who you think is a stone cold. This person's taking a pen, and then things change really quickly, and they hand the ball away to somebody else. That is generational loss there. Let me tell you, it's really bad. But yeah, I do think Bruno Fernandes has some question marks around him with the penalties, with the new team, with all these new attackers, and he's probably going to play a deeper role than he did last year. He's probably not going to be as heavily involved in the attack, I would guess, because I mean they have better attackers. He's going to be play a different position, I would say, in a different capacity a little bit. So he could. I mean, I'm not saying to not go there, but at 9.0, that's a lot of budget to invest in somebody that I think we're not sure he's going to consistently perform all season, and we're not sure what United's going to do. That's a lot of what my thinking has been about the season, like going into FPL, of where are these teams gonna kind of play out. If I was a betting man, would I be betting on United to be better? They probably are, but how much better will they be is the big question. So we'll see with that one. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is if United get a really good striker in their team before the end of the season, Bruno could have 15 assists. Like who really knows in that case? But yeah, Luke, go ahead. Where Bruno Fernandes?
Bruno Fernandes, he's interesting to me. I don't think I would go there quite yet because he's 9,000,000. If I could squeeze him into my team, then I would potentially go there. But I would have to check those other boxes of, let's say, I have a deep feeling that Holland is gonna be a great option to have this season. So by having Holland, it's gonna restrict my budget a lot for the rest of the players I bring in. With that in mind, Bruno Fernandes is probably gonna be very difficult because I have other premiums I want to have in my team too. So if I can, I think for me, he's a luxury item to have, a luxury player. So if I can get him in, I will, but I'm not gonna be building drafts around him. So
Yeah. For those other midfielders, though, I mean, if we're just generally looking at them, I think Cole Palmer is going to have a huge season. I think it's going to help a ton to have strikers in front of him, whether Delap, who is going to really push defenses. He's going to basically do what Jackson did, but he's a more clinical finisher, in my opinion. I mean, Jackson could end up starting if he beats out João Pedro. I mean, João Pedro also is going to be somebody that, like, I know Palmer's going to interplay with very well. That's going to be a really good relationship they build. So we'll have to see. I mean, obviously Chelsea love to kind of just play the field with their attackers with their whole team setup. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think Palmer is going to be probably the only Chelsea asset that I would invest in an attacking standpoint as of right now. What do you think, Luke?
For me, Palmer, is the only person I'm fully considering at the moment. If I knew Delap was starting, Delap would be in my team almost immediately. I think he's great value at 6.5, being the striker for Chelsea. That's something that I think is really exciting. João Pedro, I think, is a huge trap. He's someone that he's priced at 7.5. Yeah, he's still the highest owned player, and initially you think that's people make their drafts, they don't check it. If he's stayed that high in ownership, that's crazy to me. So, I and he could be starting. We know for him, I think he had 10 goals last season. 4 or 5 of those were penalties. And Cole Palmer is going to be on penalties for Chelsea. Go ahead.
Sorry, brief interlude. He only misses penalties when he's in my FPL team, but
Cole Palmer, yeah, and he has to have the captaincy too. Give him the armband and forgets how to take a pin. So I also think there's a certain level where Cole Palmer has become overly frustrated with Nicholas Jackson. There's a lot of it looks like I don't know if hard feeling, but frustration there. So I think they're going to sell Jackson and Delap and João Pedro will probably be their strikers of choice. We just don't know which one to pick as of now. I would assume João Pedro is going to be starting game one, but I think Delap could easily take that position from him because I think he's the more consistent and the better option for Chelsea to have, strictly because I think he's built better to be Chelsea's striker. He's more physical. He really wears on center backs, and he's very willing to make those runs in behind. That's going to open up a lot of gaps for Cole Palmer whenever those center backs have to follow him. So I think we'll see Delap become the starter, but in the beginning for game week 1, I would not. It would be very tricky. You'd be rolling the dice very heavily if you're going to go with Delap.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think not to completely skip on the attackers. I know we were kind of focusing on midfielders right now, but I think having a Chelsea defender going into the season's probably a great idea. I mean, they have a great run of fixtures to start out for probably the first 6 game weeks. And we know this is a defense that kind of put itself together as the year kind of went on last season. They've just added more pieces there. And I think they have, who is it? Hato? He's a left back from Ajax, I believe. He's coming in this season. Well, who knows with Cucurella? Maybe that will upstage Cucurella. Not really sure. But we're figuring stuff out on stream, by the way, if you just saw your picture change there. But yeah, for the Chelsea assets, I would love to have a good defender locked in my back line. Colwell could be a really good option. Reece James, we could see the return of Reece James this season. Who knows? He starts getting some more goal returns, assist, all that stuff. It's very possible. But yeah, for other midfielders, I think I would Saka's probably locked into my teams. Everybody on this that listens to this podcast knows I'm a delusional Arsenal fan. So
Interesting. Saka is someone I started out with, and then over the last couple of days, I haven't really been tinkering my team that much. I'm kind of just leaving it the way it is. But Saka's kind of fading out of my thoughts as it gets closer to the start of the season.
yeah, maybe we should all just invest in Max Dowman. Could be starting on that right wing. Luke's so over me, but no, I think Saka's going to be great. I mean, he would have had probably. I think he would have probably finished top 2 or top 3 with just FPL points last season without the injury. I mean, hit the goal contributions that he had last season. And I mean, if him and Gyökeres build a good partnership, that's just going to create even more space for Saka on that right side because teams aren't going to be able to have 3 people loaded up on him. So,
my concern about that, though, is I think teams are going to still be focused on Saka. The concern there is the left wing is still kind of in question for Arsenal. And I would argue that was almost more important to fill in that gap with someone very reliable that you know what you're getting, more so even than getting a new striker. Because as you know, both Paul and I are very big fans of Kai Havertz. We think he's a great footballer. The left wing is still in question. Does Martinelli start in left wing? Is Trossard sold? In order for them to get Eze, do they bring Eze in? Does Madueke plug in on the left side? We're not sure, right? Like, who knows exactly what happens here? Um, so it's hard to say. My concern with Arsenal, though, is like I was saying, I think Saka's still gonna be someone that's gonna be heavily focused on with through 2 to 3 defenders around him at all times because he's that good, and he's so good in space that you can't give him the space. If he's in a one-on-one situation, he's gonna cook in that situation, so, God forbid he let get back on the left foot too, but having Ben White back could be really good for hopefully he's very healthy, the best version of Ben White that we see, so I don't know, we'll see how that develops over time, but, another team that I think is very interesting for us to look at in FPL, I think Newcastle have some really good assets. For example, this morning, Elanga scores a goal in his like, I think that was his first appearance for Newcastle.
Horrible finish.
I didn't see it. I think you said Raya made a mistake on the.
I mean, on that one, it was just a cutback, and then I think he basically hit the ball off the ground and it bounced, floated through the air and bounced in off the post. So whatever. Not hating on Newcastle at all, but you're right, Luke. I mean, we could see the rise of Anthony Gordon once again. I mean, he's somebody that can go through very clinical phases where he's just creating chance after chance after chance. He needs to translate it to the road. I know was it 2 seasons ago he had that great season where he was just scoring goal after goal or assist after assist at home. It's something that has to translate all across 38 games to me. But he's somebody that I saw Arsenal bid on him for a left winger. I would love that. I mean, he's somebody that plays hard. He's probably not going to get into the DefCon situation, but I mean, he does create havoc on teams in possession. So
Potentially with ball recoveries, but ball recoveries, if I remember correctly, I think ball recoveries is the main avenue for attackers in order for them to be able to hit those contributions. So it counts as 2 if you recover the ball and then there's a progressive pass made or a progressive carry, and I think that turns into 2. So maybe there is a way that he can get to that point. We know he's gonna work hard for the team and, he's gonna put in the miles, so he's someone that is very interesting, and I honestly, he might be on pins. Let's say that they end up not bringing in Seshko, and Anthony Gordon is gonna be their talisman, I think, if they ended up not bringing someone in and they do sell it easily, so something to keep in mind there. I, yeah, really think that he's going underappreciated in some Newcastle assets too, so something to keep an eye on. We'll see if the ownership changes for those over the course of building up to game 1, so.
yeah, let's see, Luke. What other midfielders have we missed right now? I mean, we talked about Salah a little bit in the beginning. I would say, 1 second. Sorry, I'm just pulling this up.
While you're doing that, we could have a little chat here about Man City options because I feel like we haven't gone into those too much. The main thing here, I feel like Holland is going to be the best choice to have by far. He's a player that really is very impactful for City. Everything they've designed in their attack, how they lay out um, their entire tactical setup is built around creating chances for Holland. And what we're going to see with them bringing in new players and also Rodri being back, City are going to be a lot better than they were last season. Holland's going to be better because he's going to be getting better chances. That confidence is only going to continue to increase over time. And I think it's going to be really tricky not to have him in your team for game week 1 because how do you get back to him if you don't start out with him?
Yeah, I completely agree. I know Holland is going to be locked into my team, but we were talking about this yesterday. Having Rodri and then if Reinders is going to be the person in the midfield with them. I don't know if everybody's watched him, if they paid attention to AC Milan at all. He's going to be an awesome fit at City. Like that to me may under the radar be one of the best signings of the Premier League season because he's somebody that it's almost impossible to get the ball off his feet. He has the mentality to just drive at people, and he can also distribute the ball easily too. And he can finish. Like he really developed that at AC Milan to have like he can show up at the top of the box and place a ball. He can do it. He can hit. He can put his foot through a ball too. So I think it's going to be a situation with City with him and Rodri, especially with Rodri behind him, where he's going to have the ability to kind of just roam and do what he wants. I think he's a lot better fit for Rodri than Kovacic.
Yeah, I think so too. He's more dynamic as a player, right? I think Kovacic is really good at what he does. He's so good at carrying the ball, but Reinders provides more of a complete package that I think Pep's system would demand, right? Because as we saw with Kovacic, he was good at filling in times, but he did not provide that reliable X factor that City needs in that really important pivot position. And Rangers will probably be playing a little bit higher than like say Rodri does, but I think you're right, Paul. He could be a really great signing for City and something we look back on and be like, oh well, yep, they did it again. They found yeah, Cherokee is another player. And I think everyone knows if you've listened to the podcast, Paul knows what I'm about to talk about. I'm a Phil Foden apologist. I think he is one of the most talented players out there. I also just love watching him play, so that's probably where it comes from. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be in their starting 11. That's where my thought is because with all the players they brought in, you've got Marmoush, Holland, Doku, Savino, Cherokee. Rangers can play higher up. Bernardo Silva, Oscar Bob, and then you have Foden, right? Like he's someone who's been there a long time. I think maybe after this year we see Foden move on somewhere else. That's my prediction for the season.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if a team like Newcastle or maybe I don't know who else needs a right winger. Maybe somewhere like the other Manchester City. I mean, they have Mbomo, but I mean, like Foden can play through the middle for them. So we'll have to see how that situation develops. But I do want to bring up that Luke and I had a conversation on this podcast probably like a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, where Luke was saying that Foden is as important to City as Saka is to Arsenal. Simply not true. Simply not true. He's probably not going to play for City this year for an extended capacity unless he really earns the position back. He easily could. He could earn his position back, but at this time, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how Foden does this season. I'm not overly optimistic. I will not be investing in him as an FPL asset. There's no doubt about that. It's not personal. I'm just gonna have to see a lot more consistent game minutes and FPL returns for me to even think about bringing him into my FPL team. But like you said, Holland, I don't think we're ready. I'm not ready.
Yeah, there was a video he posted yesterday where he was running up hills somewhere in, probably Greece or Ibiza or something like that, and he looks like he's in good shape, ready for the new season. And I think City aren't the favorites this year. That's the plain truth. I haven't looked at the betting market. I don't know where they sit on odds for the Premier League title or Champions League, but Liverpool are going to be the clear favorite. I think smart money would bet on Liverpool and go with them, especially now before they get Isak, because then the odds are just going to get better over time for them. So, Liverpool are going to be the clear choice to win the Premier League this season. And Paul and I were talking about this earlier today, as we all we do is talk about football. So, um, the thing about Liverpool with their additions this season, their ceiling has doubled or maybe tripled. What that allows is, let's say, they're performing, let's say a 10 out of 10, right? But then an 8 out of 10, well, because that ceiling is raised, that 8 out of 10 gives them more space and more breathing room to where they don't have to be performing at a 10 out of 10 in order to win 3-0. to win 3-2, where they have all these tough fixtures that they're going to be playing, but they're going to be the most talented team in those fixtures. So we'll see how teams set up against them, how Slot sets his team up, because I think there's going to be a shift away from Slaw being their main playmaker and the person who's creating everything for them. Verts is going to come in and completely change what they do. He is so good in those little half spaces on the left side, especially, that he's going to create so many chances for other players, but also himself, that, like we talked about earlier, I could see eventually it's going to be template, I think, for people to go Verts and Esoc and just forget Slaw altogether in the long run because he's so expensive. But Paul, do you think it's a dangerous game to leave Slaw out of your team?
I think it's a dangerous game, but I love playing dangerous games, so I will probably be doing that. I still think it's a great vehicle for people. I mean, it's probably gonna come back and really hurt me in the long run to not have Slaw on my team. But I mean, do we think he's gonna break his points record again this season? I mean, he could. He could. He easily could. I don't think he's going to. I would take whatever the betting odds are for the amount of goals he's scoring this year. I would probably take the under. Like we talked about earlier, we spent some time on this, so we won't spend too much time. But I think the goals are going to be distributed through that Liverpool team. I don't think it's going to be a situation. But kind of going to what you're saying there, Luke. Liverpool this season, I know last season, whenever I'm still in my hating phase of being a certified hater of Liverpool, but there's just times where, I mean, like, they would coast through games, like, especially when they played Southampton last year, they got down 2-0. They coast, and they find goals, somehow get away to get a tie or get a win. It's just gonna be a lot easier for them to do that this year because they have a wealth of different options. I mean, if they look bad in the first half, they can sub in a whole new team in the second half, essentially. So, I mean, it's gonna be difficult. The Premier League title race, if all these teams are functioning at top capacity this season, we could see a title race that goes into maybe around 100 points. Like, I mean, it's gonna be an arms race, and I can tell you right now, I feel bad for these teams that are coming up from the championship this season because those wins to get to around 30 to 40 points to stay up are gonna be really difficult. And if I were, say, a Wolves fan right now or a Brentford fan, I would also be very concerned. A lot of these teams that have been doing a lot of selling, like Brentford, I mean, they could lose Wissa as well, but after losing Mbomo, they lost Norgard. There was another position I think they lost to where are the goals coming from? That's the big question I have for a lot of these, like, mid to lower table teams, and also, like, West Ham too. I mean, I don't know, it looks like they're gonna probably sell Paqueta is what it seems like. And I mean, I love Bowen, as we talked about earlier in the podcast, but, it's gonna be an experience to see what it's like, with such a top-heavy Premier League, because, I mean, like, you look at Chelsea, they're loaded, Newcastle's loaded, Arsenal's loaded, United will probably be better this year. They're not the top half team, they're a bottom half team, let's be realistic here. Spurs have gotten better. I mean, to me, they have a better manager now. They have somebody that is tactically flexible, that is one of the smartest managers in the Premier League, and they added Kudus, who is, in the system of, like, Thomas Franks, we could see him go crazy. They have great attackers surrounding him, great people to play in the ball in a ton of space, so that's gonna be fun. What do you think of the other teams, Luke? Like, I know I said Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal, Liverpool. I mean, so many.
There are. I think there's value to be spread across. I think every team has, even like the newly promoted teams, they have a couple. Each team has a couple viable FPL assets. So if you look at Sunderland, for example, they have Adringa, someone who is really good at Brighton. He's priced at 5.5 million. That's someone who could be a really nice filler for your team. Wolves just added a new attacking midfielder from Flamingo, who's priced at 5.5. He could be a really good option. Then you have Strand Larson, who he's at 6.5, right, Paul? Yeah. Paul's a big Strand Larson fan, and he was great for him last season, so it makes sense. The thing about that, though, is I think Strand Larson, where are the chances going to come from? This new signing that I was just talking about, the 5.5 attacking midfielder, he could be really good for them there. So that could also help provide more chances for Strand Larson. other thing to mention, Strand Larson has been on the radar of Newcastle. So if he ends up going to Newcastle, that's something that at 6.5, if he becomes their starting striker, that would be incredible value. Other places to look at, I think we could see Wissa makes the move to Newcastle. This is very interesting. Wissa's at 6.52 or he's at 7? Yeah, 6.5. So he's a great option there too. Let me think. So other teams that we'd see kind of like lowered, and this is another thing you mentioned, Paul, with Jared Bowen. Him being moved to striker is something that's kind of an for us. As a midfielder, he is a great option. I think he would have been very highly owned because he's someone that just ticks away. He's someone that consistently gives you points, but as a forward, he kind of just loses some of that appeal. Like you're getting less points for his returns. The BPS is harder to get to if you're not sure he's on pins as well. So there's a lot of stuff there that I think makes it a little more complicated. But um, I think every team has a viable option if we look across the board. Like Brentford, probably going to sell Wissa. We'll see if they can settle on a price with Newcastle that keeps everyone happy. But if he leaves, the striker who's going to be filling in for him, Thiago, is priced at 6 million. That's a really good price point, and we know Brentford are going to be they're doing everything they can to get the ball in the box and give him high XG opportunities. And he's probably going to take over pins, is my assumption. We'll see. And he's already scored a goal in preseason already for Thiago, so someone to keep on your radar as well too. So we've got some really great options out there, and I think that the main thing there, keep your teams flexible because there's going to be a lot of change this season. That we were just talking about Spurs. Solanke is someone that I'm very highly of for this coming season. Within the Thomas Frank system, we know that Solanke could really thrive. Look at Wissa. Wissa had 19 goals last year, 20, something in that ballpark, 15 to 20. That's a great return. And the thing is, Thomas Frank has more talent with this team than he did at Brentford. So the argument is he's going to provide consistency, but allow them to adapt how they play based upon who they're playing. That's what Thomas Frank is so good at. He doesn't have one specific play style. He's very adaptable. And with the talent he has available, he's going to do a great job of getting the most out of that squad. So Solanke is someone I've got my eye on. Kudus, potentially the best value midfielder in my opinion. It's 6.5. Almost in my opinion, he's going to be locked into starting every game. And we know how creative he is. He is a magician with the ball at his feet. And I think the way that they're going to play, he's really going to thrive. So 6.5 is something that's really hard to pass up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Kudus is going to be awesome. I think he's going to have a great season at Spurs. I'm iffy on Solanke. There's just been, I don't know, I feel like at Spurs so far, he's had injury runs. He's had maybe like I think I got a little sprint by him too. Both of us were super high on him for the season last year. It's a new manager, new system, new players around him essentially. So I'm probably more of the mindset to kind of keep an eye on him. I'm probably not going to invest early on. I would prefer honestly to go Rand Larson at 6.5 and just save the budget there. To me, it depends. I mean, like I said, I want Holland in my team, so it's going to be difficult to have a 7.5 if I want Gyökeres as well too, which I may. We'll see. We'll see where the price points play out there. Not sure yet, but yeah, I agree. Spurs could be a good option. We'll have to see how their season develops, where they go with how they set up. I mean, if Kudus at 6.5 could be one of the highest risers of the season. Like he easily could. And we'll have to see what other midfield assets even play for them. You know.
Someone that's going under the radar, excuse me, right now is Morgan Rogers. He's priced at 7 million. Villa have a very Villa have a very nice run. Paul said he's in his team, by the way, in case you didn't hear that. Villa have a great run to start out the season. And we saw a Watkins goal, a Rogers goal in their most recent fixture, I think yesterday, against Frankfurt. So I really think that that the best thing we can do maybe now is we can list the top 3 assets. Shout out Marina. Everyone hop in the chat, throw your top 3 assets in. No, but okay, so we'll do that as well. We'll give you all our top 3 assets for the FPL season, and let us know if you agree or disagree. So, without further ado, I'm gonna put it on Paul first. You go.
All right. First off, we've talked about him a lot. The big Norwegian, Holland. He's number one. Number one in my opinion. I think he's gonna have a huge season. I think he's gonna be the highest returner in FPL. He may break Salah's record this season. We'll see. Number 2, Saka. He would have easily, like we said earlier, he would have probably been one of the top returners from last season without the injuries. He still was a consistent returner when he was playing. He honestly probably could have had a lot more returns with some different things would have broke a different way for Arsenal last season. So he's number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna actually go with Florian Wirtz. Is that Luke's? I think I still want to Luke's there. Let's hear what he has to say. But I think Wirtz, like, he's gonna be insane.
Wirtz was gonna be my first pick. He's someone that's extremely talented, and get in the chat. Wrong. See what's going on in there if you're watching the live stream. So, there's some drama going back and forth between Paul and Marina over here. So, and anyone who doesn't know, Marina is my wife. So, Paul and Marina have a very I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic where they tend to fight sometimes. So, keep an eye on how
It's a sibling relationship.
as you can imagine. So, my number 1 asset is Wirtz. He's very creative, but he also finishes very well. So, the route to points, I can easily see it. Liverpool are gonna have a ton of chances this season. The second option that I think could be really good, and, I might be a little biased here. I think Holland is great too. He's someone that's an honorable mention. Um, I think he's probably number 3 on the list. Number 2, it feels wrong to 2 players who are gonna eventually be on the same team. I think Isak is gonna be lights out if he goes to Liverpool. That's someone that's gonna be really difficult, to top, right? Because he's gonna be getting a ton of chances. He might take over pins for Liverpool. I see it as something that's it's gonna be hard to not have him in your team. The thing with Salah too that we haven't quite talked about that I think it's a change we could see. I think we see his goal output drop, but I think we see Salah's assist totals increase, right? He's surrounded by some very talented players who are, you know, they convert chances with very low XG opportunities. And within that, Salah is gonna get even more of those kind of like jammy assists that he loves so much. So, but maybe those jammy goals that he gets decreases over time.
We also could be completely wrong, and this could lead to Salah having the biggest season of his career with just being surrounded by a wealth of attacking assets. It could just make his opportunities a lot clearer. Like, we could be completely wrong. I think we're not afraid to admit on this podcast that there's instances where we actually have been wrong. Surprisingly, we weren't the top 2 players in FPL last season. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, we own an FPL podcast. Like, you would think that would just make us top 10% in the world, but that's not the instance, you know? This game's difficult.
Well, I mean, we did come in 3rd and 4th overall, so we weren't top 2, but we were 3rd and 4th. So no, we actually we are we I will be in the top 10% league, and that's so we provide this as we're learning and growing along with everyone else who's enjoying the content we're putting out. So it is a conversation, and we are all getting better together.
Not to bring up last season, and not that I have yet, but I mean, I had a great season. It just fell apart at various different every week basically. My overall rank. Let's be real. It could have used a lot of work. I had weeks that were awesome last season. I had good runs. It just kind of fell apart at a different point in time, you know? That's the life of an FPL manager, you know? The only thing is that it doesn't matter now. We're moving on to this season. I'm building my Excel spreadsheets. I'm locked and loaded. I got a lot of teams going right now that I'm excited about, so I feel confident about this FPL season. Do you, Luke?
I do. I feel very good about where we're going. I think this is a good segue. So we just did our top 3 assets. I think we need to talk about 3 players that we're building our drafts around, right? I think that's a slightly different question because assets potentially what you see, but a lot of people will probably answer this and say that Salah is gonna be the best option for them. What I see is that I'm building my drafts around Cole Palmer. He's someone that I think I have to have, and Chelsea are gonna be good this year, in my opinion. They might have a little bit of a hangover from the Club World Cup because 'cause they're not having time off, but I see Cole Palmer as being someone that I'm building my drafts around, someone that you almost have to have. I think that another player that I'm building my draft around, this is the second one. I really think Frimpong, someone that I would like to have. I don't quite trust his minutes, so he's someone I want to build a draft around, but I'm not quite there yet. I don't trust his minutes fully. So, you know, throw Frimpong out there. I just threw that in there for whatever reason. Number 2, Solanke is someone I've been building my drafts around. He's someone I've made sure that I wanna have. But even more than that, now that I think about it, as a midfielder, Kudus is someone that I have to have. At the value he's at 6.5, so I'm building my drafts around Haaland. Kudus is a mainstay in every team I've been building at this point, along with Palmer. Um, and that's really kinda like the 3 mainstays, right? Haaland, Palmer, and then Kudus. We'll see what happens with Gyökeres. If his price comes in and it's very digestible and easy to get to, he'd become the 4th in that line. But those are really the 3 I'm building on right now with the potential of adding Gyökeres for Arsenal, so
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 of the same 3. Like, I have Holland, Palmer, and then I would say Saka too. It's, they're all 3 of those players that are one of the main things we talk about that I think is critical when you're considering attackers is, are they a focal point of what that team's doing? And all 3 of those players, Holland, he's gonna be on the end of all the chances they create. He's on pens, he's heavily involved. I mean, he doesn't have to have 50 touches in a game. He can have 3 and they give me 3 goals. That's just the simple reality of the situation. Palmer is he pulls all the strings at Chelsea. He creates the goals, he makes the goals, he gets goals himself. He's on pens. He's just the fulcrum of that Chelsea attack. Without him, it wouldn't work. That's like Rodri out of City. It just simply doesn't work. Saka to me is in the same conversation where he's just like an immovable object in the Arsenal attack. Especially if we see a situation where Gyökeres is allowing him to have more space in that right wing, and kind of we'll see how Arteta sets the team up this year. I think we're kind of already seeing a little bit of it, but hopefully we're going to see Arsenal more of on a forward attacking and getting more bodies forward to kind of create more channels and space for the already existing attackers. So that would be great for Arsenal. But I think Saka is going to be. I think he's going to have a great season. All 3 of those players, I like Kudus the addition there too. Like, I mean, having your 3rd there be a budget midfielder helps a ton because, I mean, we only have so much money to go around.
and this year, we said it last year too, whenever we were building teams for game week 1, this year really feels like you have to make sacrifices across building your team, and having someone that you're building this around. The other one that I think kind of enters the conversation at a really cheap price point is Wolves' new attacker at 5.5 million. I can't remember his name, the guy they brought in from Flamingo. Yeah, it's something like yeah, it's in there. And he at 5.5, he's someone that you can easily throw into any team, potentially will be starting every fixture, and would make a huge difference for you because at 5.5, having a good attacking option that we don't really have that at this point yet. So 5.5 enables a lot for you to do in your team, and someone who's starting it potentially can fill in if you off the bench to be a good viable option, someone to look at there, I think, for us to have. Yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, just so everybody knows, today Wolves were playing in a friendly, and they drew a pen in the 85th minute, so it was later in the game. But Wing Hee Chan was one that took the pen and converted. Actually, so he didn't convert, followed it up and scored the goal. So just at 6.0, I mean, if he's on pens, obviously he missed the pen, so maybe he won't be going forward. But that could be a viable option. I agree with Luke. The midfielder they brought in from Flamingo, he could be a really interesting option at 5.5. Obviously, maybe he'll be part of the DEF CON conversation. I don't know. But he does a lot, and I think he has a pretty high work rate for an attacking midfielder. So maybe somebody just to keep on a watch. Let's keep an eye on.
Yep. No, I agree. I think that's probably going to be a good place for us to get close to closing this out. So I think the last thing we want to do before we kind of close out this live stream is we want to talk through the percentage ownership we expect for certain players going into game week 1. So with that in mind, I think the best thing for us to do is just kind of go through some of the premium assets that are going to be really important, and then we can talk about some of those kind of like hot topicy, like really popular players right now too. So um, to start out with, I think, Paul, could you tell me what Holland's ownership is currently?
Why don't you guess first?
Okay, I'm gonna guess that Holland's ownership is at 40%, somewhere between 30 and 40.
If you divide that number by 2, you'll be close.
20%? Or was that, were you saying the 40 or the 30? So Holland is currently at 18.4% owned. Get in my team. I think he's gonna continue to go up in value over time. Um, City will have preseason friendlies. He's gonna score goals in those friendlies over time. I think Holland will probably end somewhere around 40% ownership going into game week 1. So I'd expect that to probably about double would be my expectation. If that doubles, you're still getting really good value out of him, and he's someone that you will happily put the captaincy on and go with him for a lot of the fixtures, even if it's a tough fixture. I think we'll see a lot more chances like we've talked about, and he's gonna put those chances away. I think he's gonna come back with a bit of a vengeance after the way the last season played out. So Holland, someone I expect 40% ownership going into game week 1. Paul, what do you expect for him?
I feel like he may get to around the 30 to like 35 range. I mean, it's going to be a drastic step for him though to go from 18 to 40%.
One thing there is there's millions of teams that haven't been created yet, right? A lot of people will sign up as it gets closer to the deadline, and as they come in, I think those are even more likely to add Holland to their team because they recognize the name, they know he scores goals. So that's why I'm expecting such a big difference. And let's say he scored some goals in preseason. He's like Bruno Fernandez. His ownership has probably gone up 5-10% in the last day because of his 2 goals. So that's going to happen for Holland too, I think.
Well, I'm just hoping for no goals in preseason for Holland. Yeah, I know. And then he had what, like a hat trick, 2 goals, a hat trick. He had a crazy start to FPL last season, so I'm really hoping for that. But yeah, no, I think 30 to 35 probably. You're right. Maybe bleeding up into 40. That's probably going to be the likely situation as more people get added to the game, as more teams get built and all that. But yeah, let's see. What do you think for Salah, Luke? So let me guess. I'll guess this time since you guessed last time. If I would guess he's probably at 45% ownership right now. 55. He's 57% owned at the moment. That seems kind of on par. I mean, he had the highest ever FPL report last season, so it makes sense that he's at 57%. He's probably, in my opinion, if he's at 57 right now, those teams get built, he'll probably end up maybe 65, 70% owned, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think he will continue to go up over time, but the thing is, I think you'll see online, or like if you're looking at stuff on Twitter, on Reddit, Blue Sky, whatever it may be, you'll see the Isak and Ertz become really popular, but that is kind of just the niche that occupies FPL for that portion. And there's millions and millions of other people out there playing the game that don't even put anything on there. So I think those people who aren't as into it will go slaw. Just plain and simple. It's easy, it's reliable. But I think we'll see a lot more like momentum within certain groups of Verse and Isak. So Salah's ownership, I could see it ended up around 60% somewhere for Salah. So it wouldn't surprise me. The next one I wanted to do, Paul, is Bukayo Saka. He's currently at 18% ownership. Do you think that will go up, down, or stay the same? And for every single one of these, if you're watching live, throw it in the chat and tell us what you think the ownership will be as well as we're talking through it.
I would say he's probably like he's sitting basically even with Holland right now at 18% ownership. I would say Holland's gonna rise higher, and that Saka will probably stay around maybe 30%. And I think that's simply due to how much Salah cost this season, how much Holland cost this season, how much Palmer. You have these big premium assets. I think a lot of people will probably rate Saka as like maybe a top 5, top 6 asset in the game. But there's gonna be more of an emphasis placed on other assets, so I wouldn't expect him to be if he gets above 35% owned, I would be surprised.
Me too. I think those fixtures are really gonna scare people off. Gyökeres too, right? Like there's another really viable option, and maybe Gyökeres takes over pins from Saka. Gyökeres has a really good record with pins in Portugal, so something that could happen. Saka's been good with pins. He hasn't been the level of Mboma or someone like that, right?
Yeah, just for reference, I'm pretty sure that Gyökeres's penalty conversion rate is 89%. Saka's kinda around 81%, and Gyökeres has taken probably almost double the amount of pens too, so just for reference for people.
Yep, yep. Definitely something to keep in mind there. I think, yeah, Saka, I could probably see maybe on 25 ownership. That feels about right to me. You know, he's in a fourth of team, and I could see a lot of people regretting not having him. But what I'll probably do is I'm probably going to hedge not having Saka for the first 6 game weeks because they're very difficult. They're playing very good sides whenever for that to the start of the season. So we'll see what happens. You know, he could go and score a hat trick in one of their upcoming preseason friendlies, and then that number skyrockets because people get FOMO. But we'll see what happens. Another player that I think is really interesting for us to talk about, and there's news that will make this swing. Is Isak. Isak, I believe, is currently at 35. He's currently at 36% ownership. Where do you see that ending before game week 1, Paul?
I mean, all of that depends on where he plays next season. If he stays at Newcastle, that number could go down. Like, it possibly could. I mean, he's still the same player, but, I mean, if he's in that Liverpool team, the chances are gonna be so easy for him, and it's gonna be scary if he's at Liverpool. But if he stays at Newcastle, I mean, you could see some people being like, "Well, I mean, people could already be investing for him being at Liverpool, and if they see that he's not gonna be there, then they're gonna pull him out of their team for somebody else." Like, you could easily go from Isak to Ekitike. I can't say his name very well.
Ekitike.
Ekitike. Yeah, I struggle with the names. I'm sorry, guys, but he you could see that movement. So if he goes to Liverpool, though, we're probably gonna see him. I would say 65%. What do you think?
In my mind, I was thinking probably this would be a huge change, but I could see almost 75% ownership for Isak. I think he could, if he goes to Liverpool, he could become the most popular asset in the game because he's cheaper than Salah, but could easily provide the returns, maybe even takes over pins over Salah. So although that I think you'd have to pry that out of Salah's hands. I don't think he's gonna part with them very easily. So yeah, so let's do maybe 2 more, and then let's do Palmer. Palmer is currently at 51%. that's really high, but it makes sense. I think we'll see that going up. I could see him settling around 60 to 65% ownership. People continue to go like there's the thing is Palmer had a really poor end of the season, but to me it didn't feel like it was Palmer being poor. He was still creating chances. He wasn't finishing the chances, but whenever you're not building that momentum and the chances you're creating aren't being converted, the confidence starts to wane a little bit. So I think by having a little bit of a break, Club World Cup was probably good for him building his confidence back up. I think he's going to come in season for Chelsea. So I think for an actual number, I would say 65% ownership by game week 1.
Yeah, I like 65 a lot, Luke. I'm kind of in agreement with you there. I mean, this is somebody that had 214 FPL points last season, and he had a horrible, probably last, I would say, 10 game weeks, maybe even 15. So I mean, if he puts a complete season together, I mean, that's 300 points there, and that's literally, I think, what 40 points behind Salah. So this is somebody that can score in bunches. He can assist in bunches, and Chelsea are just going to be better this season too. They have more experience. They have more players added. Palmer, I can see him end up being maybe the best FPL asset of the season. Who knows? I think Holland, but I think Palmer could really contend for that. I'm gonna do one more. Go ahead.
The last one I want us to do, and this is someone who I think provides a very interesting context for us to look at, is Marmoush. Marmoush is currently at yeah, guess.
12%.
Very close. 15.7%. It makes sense to me. He's been moved so there's another change that we quite didn't talk about. There have been some players who've moved positions. Very notably, Marmoush has gone from a forward to a midfielder. Jared Bowen, midfielder to a forward. We did mention that one. MLS from a midfielder to a defender. So there's a lot there, right? But Marmoush is currently at 18.7%. I think he probably settles around 25% or so. But throughout the course of the season, if he starts banging in goal, I think he could go up to 50% because he's a very easy price point to get to at 8.5. But on top of that, you're getting more points for his goal contributions than you were last season. So something to keep an eye on, but I think his ownership could skyrocket over the course of the season.
Once again, I agree with you. Like, I think that's a very good point. He does really help hedge Holland as well. So, I mean, it could be a situation where, I mean, we see Holland have 10 goals and Marmoush has 8 right behind him. I mean, they're both going to be heavily involved. You never know with Pep Roulette. He's going to keep us on our toes. So there could be games where Marmoush doesn't start. I don't think there's games where Holland's not going to start. So that's just throwing that out there. But yeah, I agree with like he could get up to 50% just depending on how things fall, you know. But yeah. Any other players you want to bring up or? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody hanging out for our first live stream. This has been a learning experience for all of us, and we're figuring everything out. But I mean, it's great to have also this vehicle to reach out. You can see both of our faces, see how we interact, see all these different things that kind of give the podcast a whole new life and all that. So also, once again, shout out to Marina and Savannah. They did an exceptional job helping us set everything up, and this space looks so great for us to make this our little podcast home. So thank you all for that. And I don't know, I'm just really excited for an FPL season. Are you, Luke?
No, I'm depressed. Yeah, I cannot wait I'm excited to have FPL back. Excited to have Premier League games started back up time soon. So very excited, like Paul said, to be able to engage with you all in this way. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a little while now, and it's taken some work to get here, but we'll only continue to make this setup even better, be able to engage with you all in more of a kind of direct fashion. So it's been a lot of fun to do this live stream and podcast with you, Paul, and we're just getting started with kind of the new version of Top Ends with Twins. So Thank you all so much for joining us for this. And like Paul said, thank you to Marina and Savannah for helping us out, helping getting the space ready. It's been huge, huge help. So, yeah, good luck with those drafts, everyone. And like we always say, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram as well, whatever works best for you. We'll get back to you soon as YouTube. Yeah. So send us a message. Happy to talk with you guys about anything FPR related. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. And thank you so much for joining. Paul, you want to close it out?
Yeah, we are so excited for another FPL season. Just remember, it's a game. We play it for fun, and we're going to close on that. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody.